blood. Quite possibly the most evil, the most detailed, the most gory sprite-based shooter ever to squeeze its way out of the 90s. Developed by Monolith and published by GT, Blood will come at you like a hellhound to the throat, and it will squeeze and squeeze until your eyes are popping out and you're gagging and sweating and thrashing around, and you'll be praying that it won't stop. Featuring repulsively gorgeous monsters packing exquisite attacks and mechanics, Blood absorbed all that came before it. All the doom, all the Duke was aware of the 3D games popping up around it, and it came out swinging. Duke's a lovable sex pest. Lo Wang kicks serious booty. But Caleb, in his world populated by horror inspirations and references, is easily the best of the three. There's so much flavor here. So many ambient sounds, creaking floorboards, whistling wind, crackling ice. Such a somber, sober soundtrack to juxtapose the insanity of the action, and such a leading man in Stephen Waite. Without him, the game would simply kick ass, but with him, it's elevated to a whole other level. And what is a leading man without his villains, his foils, his monsters? Let's take a peek. This promises to be fun. Combat info is for the well-done difficulty, the best way to reach that blissful, soul-grinding state of blood nirvana. However, this difficulty is not for the faint of heart, so proceed at your own risk. Vital statistics are not available as the source code is still to be wrestled out of the cold dead hands of ATARI. There are health values on the wiki, some of which are approximations. But that's about it. Bearing this in mind, I won't bother showing these health numbers on screen. It's more than a little messy, and without other stats for context, they're not really worthwhile. But feel free to check them out on the wiki if you're curious. The link's in the description. Here are some things to remember when facing the merciless forces of the Cabal. Jumping is not just useful for platforming around the amazing maps and for reaching secrets. You can leap over enemies to herd them and avoid their attacks. This is especially useful for axe zombies and bloated butchers and just about everyone really. Combat is multi-layered in Blood. Often you'll hit a group, leap over them, gain distance, hit them again. It's a spiraling dance, a beautiful ballet held amid a showering of blood and the licking of flames. If you're new to Blood, you might find Caleb has no weight. He is but a wafer-thin potato chip floating on the breeze. But with some practice, you'll learn to appreciate the intricate dance. You'll feel graceful, powerful, and dangerous, just like an undead badass gunslinger should feel. Crouching is another move in your combat toolkit that should not be overlooked. Judicious use of getting low helps you avoid projectiles that fire straight ahead, so you can duck under them, and you can cheap out certain bad guys. Hit-scanning Cabal boys will have more trouble hitting you as well, but bear in mind that they can also lie prone, and will do this to evade your attacks as well. Be on your guard. 9 times out of 10, there will be a bad guy around any corner, and that's no exaggeration. Treat any alcove as a cultist casa, housing a host of one-eyed bastards, and as such, bouncing dynamite off walls and around corners is of extreme importance. This is done with the alternative fire on the number 6 weapon. Alt fire to set the fuse burning, normal fire to throw. You may waste a few TNT sticks now and then on an empty corridor, but these situations are so rare, it's worth being careful. Better a wasted explosive than getting peppered with Tommy gun fire, I always say. In fact, with the plasma pack added on, every weapon except for the pitchfork has an alt fire. The pitchfork was planned to have an alt fire where it shot out giant fireballs, but that's neither here nor there. The weapons are all awesome and have a use, and you should take the time to try them all out. The trick is finding the correct situation or monster for each weapon. This will become clear with practice and hopefully with the information I'm about to impart. Let's dive in. Hell Hands. Like Thing, crossed with Ash's Hand from Evil Dead 2, these guys can be a right bother. Often encountered in tight situations like the trap cupboard in Spare Parts, they'll scuttle around, their disembodied voices squeaking, "I'll swallow your soul." When their attack commences, they'll fly at the screen and squeeze the crap out of you, making your vision darken and doing damage. Give the use key a damn good tappy-tappy to make them leap off, and then turn them into raspberry jam. If you play Blood 1.0 through to 1.21 on modern systems, you can't shake these bastards off. Hitting the use key does nothing, and you just get choked to death. This is apparently due to the faster processing of the game in conjunction with playing on a low resolution. If you increase the resolution from, say, 320 to 640, the problem is gone. This issue is not present in Blood source ports, which is nice. As I used to exclusively play Blood in DOSBox and was not aware of this issue, I had a terrible hatred of and fear of Hell Hands. I knew that if one managed to grab me, I'd be dead, and I'd be reloading with furious revenge in my heart. Spiders. Another scuttling, bothersome beast, this time coming in two flavors, red and green. Red ones make your screen go all wonky, nauseating the player and making it hard to hit stuff. The green ones make the screen darken, blinding you at inconvenient moments. Luckily, these guys aren't very fast, so you can see them coming usually and can go all arachnophobia on their asses. Their annoyingness is amplified by their numbers. Cough cough, mother spider. We'll be circling back to these guys later. Rats. One of the first gross aminals you'll meet in the game, rats are relatively fast and can give you a nasty nip and will likely boil out of a hole in the wall to swarm you. They're also low to the ground, so you'll most likely be laying down some hefty crouch action to take them out. If you know where they're going to come from, they're no problem at all. Stab them, shoot them, burn them, or even step on them for a satisfying squeak. Like the pack in the first level, I like to chuck some TNT at a group and then turn them into rat jam. Yummy. Also, if you can lead them into water, they will instantly die. There was a funny dev update from 1996 when they started implementing the monster sounds, making the rat actually sound like a rat. Before then, they just spat out cultist lines, including the ear-splitting "ah" when they died. Hilarious. Bats. These flappy boys won't give you too much grief, but they can appear when you least expect it, and the worst thing they'll do is get in the way of your attacks. You'll be setting your sights on a group of nasties with the napalm launcher, and then BAM! Bat in the face. Napalm in the face. Dead. Either try to avoid them when firing if you can, or give them a fierce poke with the pitchfork. Little Calebs. When I first met these guys, I was already well versed in Army of Darkness, so the reference washed over me like a burst of warm sunshine. Delicious, delicious. Introduced in the plasma pack, they'll swarm from mirrors that have a skull carving if you approach it or break the glass, squeaking out Caleb one-liners in chipmunk voices and brandishing tiny wee shotguns. They're a breeze to take down, and they're more of a flavor enemy than a true nuisance. The only thing missing is you stomping on them while shouting, "London Bridge is falling down, falling down." Come to think of it, I wish that they poked at you with dining forks as a parody of your own pitchfork and as a further reference to Army of Darkness. Ah well. Something funny? If you burn them, they morph into the full-sized burning corpse that flails around. Maybe fire breaks the curse put on them or something. Lol. Bone eels. I don't personally find them as annoying as rotfish from Quake, but they're still quite annoying. They'll nip at you as a devilish school, and they can get in the way of your projectiles when you're shooting at a more dangerous target. If you're prepared, clear out a pool with a spot of dynamite fishing. Failing that, let loose with your hit scan weapons. In E2M1, there's an area where you can lead them up out of the water and they'll instantly die, which is nice. Chrysalid Pods, aka Acid Pods, another new monster from the plasma pack. These Audrey 2 lookalikes will let fly with a spray of acid. They'll often be found in garden environments and are just a slightly annoying turret, essentially. They can also be seen with whipping tendrils protruding from the earth nearby that will hurt you, making a very Day of the Triffids swishing sound. Another very juicy reference. They're an easy seed pod to slay and aren't nearly as bothersome as their spicy cousins. Fire Chrysalids, aka Fire Pods, the spicy cousins. Seen rarely, these red flame turrets will shoot a ball of magma that can set you on fire. They draw up power from the fiery core of the earth, and are therefore commonly seen potted in lava pools. An easy foe to disable, but their damage output kind of makes them an active threat, more so than a nuisance enemy, in my book. Give them distance and pepper them with bullets if you can. Their low health doesn't deserve any heavy ammo usage. Axe zombies. Oh no, I hear you've got a case of the zombies. That's no good. These beige bastards can be tricky to get rid of if you don't have your wits about you. You might be dusting off your hands and inwardly congratulating yourself on a job well done after blasting them away when they rise from the grave once again to stick their fire axe in the back of your head. Pay attention to their sound cues. If they give a half-hearted shout, they're trolling you and will leap back to their feet after a second or so. But if they give an ear-rending roar, they're out for the count. Best way to know they're dead besides that, their head will fall off. And you can kick it around like a soccer ball to get some much needed exercise, or to win some prizes at the local fairground. Ooh, if you're really not sure if they're dead, throw dynamite at their corpse. Scorched earth policy, ladies and gents. Leave nothing to chance. For a light infestation, I recommend both barrels of your shotty fired at close range. Want a really good time? Crouch while doing it and aim up. You'll send them flying. If your testicles are unreasonably large and your ammo is depressingly low, I recommend you let your pitchfork do the talking. Dive back and forth while stabbing away until you hear a throaty bellow. Job done. Unlike some other FPS games, your second weapon is useful throughout the entire Blood experience. It's not just a pissy pistol-like to start your adventure off with. 2 flares will suit most zombies, enveloping them in flames after a few seconds. With a big group, let the alt fire ignite the whole damn rabble in a starburst of strontium magnesium goodness. For a heavy infestation of zombies, I recommend explosives and/or flames. Hit them with dynamite, napalm, or a spray can. Light them up and watch them topple as a group. Delicious. Using your jumping skills, one of the most enjoyable things in Blood is to rouse a giant pack of zombos, leap over them multiple times till they're all bunched up, then let fly with stacks of dynamite. The ensuing chaos of noise, fire, gore, and screams is a sensory overload comparable only to riding a roller coaster while having your knob trapped in a vacuum cleaner. I imagine. You feel like the meanest motherfucker to juggle Gelignite, so I recommend you seize the opportunity as often as you can. If you feel like wasting precious boss cheesing ammo, whack 'em with the voodoo doll. Their bodies dissolve in a very satisfying way. Zombies like to swarm the player, and they can catch up to you quicker than you may expect, so avoid their flesh pressing as much as you can, or you'll lose your head. Bloated Butchers. We meet these monstrous salad dodgers in the frozen lands of Blood's second episode, Even Death May Die. Inspired by Uncle Reg from the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead, these dudes do not take kindly to you bursting into their lumber mill uninvited. Unlike axe zombies, these waddling dead will take quite a bit of firepower to go down. But like axe boys, you should be using fire and explosives. They might be funny to look at, and they waddle at quite a slow pace, but they will constantly lob meat cleavers at you in between their attacks of acid reflux. Gross. Their green globs of projectile vomitus can be neutered by a judicious bit of crouching, as these attacks travel straight forward. Nice. From your freshly popped squat, let loose with a liberal squirt of flaming spray can juice. It doesn't take too long for them to burn up, but in that time, other monsters can get the jump on you from behind. So, watch out. 3 flares seem to do the trick, or a well-aimed shot from the napalm, or a nice juicy dynamite bundle. Maybe 2. Be generous. If you get them with the voodoo doll, it can be laborious and a waste of precious ammo, but they have a cool death animation where they split in half and their surprisingly skinny skeleton collapses on itself. Lovely. I love them. I love them for how gross they look and how unpleasant they are to be around. A brilliant bit of design. Although, it just needs one more thing.
Milady.
Yeah, perfect. What a nice guy. Gargoyles. From their humble beginnings at the Dark Carnival masquerading as a fairground ride, these flappy SOBs will follow you all throughout the Blood episodes. They give an almighty scratch up close and lob bones at you from afar. Once these guys get your scent, they will shoot up into the air and circle, and circle, and circle, and circle, and incur a great deal of frustration. Hot tip: stand underneath them. This seems counterproductive as they'll scratch your ass, but they won't attack until they land. So lead them down and then either give them 4 or so full shotgun blasts with the alt fire, or once grounded, run away and hit them squarely with the napalm. Their wings will shoot off when you melt them. That's cute, isn't it? Flares can also work well, but you really need those big beefy hits from buckshot or napalm to cut them down nice and quick. If you hit straight and true, the shotgun will freeze them in pain, so you might be able to get them stuck in a series of agonizing groans before they eventually fold. This can also work well with the voodoo doll. It's very satisfying when you get a good hit and they go all rigid. Don't want to do that? Try to tempt them into bodies of water and they'll drown. Gill Beasts. These creeps from the Black Lagoon are hilariously clumsy and slow on land and will quickly fall to your ceaseless waves of extreme violence. But should you encounter them in water, then 'tis you who hamst become the prey. These half-shark, half-man aquatic a-holes will speed up to you, quick as a bee, and bite chunks out of your squishy bits. You're pretty smooth in the water, but they are twice as fast. Twice as fast! Worse still, they often travel in packs, and getting a bead on them when swimming is a tricky task. Shotgun works really well, but on higher difficulties you have to hit them quite a few times, and that's just one Gill Beast. Add in a bunch more and you're in deep water. A solid napalm hit is great, but you'll likely cop a shark in the face, followed by your own napalm in the face, and then you'll just be a spreading red cloud in the water. Something originally planned, which didn't make it into the final game, was for Gill Beast to summon bone eels. This would have made the mad feeding frenzy even more insane, as the eels would block you while the gillies would dive in again and again, teeth gnashing away. It's times like this that you're glad for cut content. Jesus. Viewed by some as the result of evil experiments, I always just thought Gill Beasts were naturally occurring monstrosities stirred up by the dark arts wrought by the Cabal. I guess their mysterious origins add to their allure even more. Phantasms. These shrill, spooky ghosties have a pretty cool attack cycle that you need to be aware of to send them back to the spirit world. It's unclear as to whether these guys are in thrall to Tchernobog or not, but they exist as a typical Grim Reaper, a being that straddles the worlds of the living and the dead, claiming souls. Are they here to take Caleb back to his grave, or are they attracted by the carnage wrought by the Cabal? You decide. Why not both? These transparent spirits will spy you and let out a bloody awful screech that plays constantly, and they'll come for you. As a flying monster in blood, they'll often take off and float in rapid circles somewhere in the roof cavity, while they laugh at your impotence. Bastards. If you can goad them into their attack, they'll become solid and will swing their scythe at you up close or shoot a very heretic-looking skull missile from afar. They can only be harmed by 3 weapons: pitchfork, the Tommy, or the shotgun. And these weapons will only have effect when the phantasm is solid, not in ghost form. Above everything, I recommend the shotgun. Maining the alt fire, you'll fall into a dance whereby you blast them, they float back, they come forward, and you blast them again. A much needed addition to your blood combat toolbox. Special shout out to the assisted dying room in the sick ward. It's an absolute shit show. A trap locks you in with a bunch of these guys, so you'd best have shotty shells or you're in real trouble. Hellhounds. I've heard of a hot dog, but this is ridiculous. These orange pupperinos are presumably some sort of spawn of Cerberus, although it's never stated as such. They're very fast, and within an attack range similar to your spray can, they'll shoot out a jet of fire from their mouths, seriously scorching your undead buns. They're not super tough, but they'll still take a fair bit of punishment and are very well protected against fire, as you'd imagine. Using your jumping skills, leap over them when they're about to attack. You'll know the opportune time when you've fought them a bit, and give them some shotgun blasts, or Tommy gun. But the best weapon for them is the Tesla cannon. So as the game progresses and they get more common, always keep a stash of Tesla charges both for them and other vile high-tier monsters. If you know their routes, leave a trail of remote/proximity detonators in their path and goad them into chasing you. have some fun. Also, lead them into water and their fires will be immediately extinguished. This is a great strat to use in E4 M1.
Sorry, son, the dog was rabid, had to put it down.
Let's get up close and personal with the one-eyed freaks that make up the human section of Tchernobog's forces. Their rank is evident via the color of their robes, which is a lovely simple bit of game design helping you to recognize exactly which jerk is draining your health at a glance, and will therefore tell you which tools to select to waste them. Cultists and Fanatics were the only ranks in the original game, but the Plasma Pack introduced a greater variety of nasties: Ackolytes, Zealots, and Priests. All loyal Cabal followers let out a string of curses and triumphant yells in the fascinating cultist language, Domus Durbentia, and nothing wipes away any cultist-related frustration like hearing their ear-shredding screams when you blow them away. Music to my ears. The very common brown-robed boys are called Cultists, which can get confusing because that's also a catch-all term for the Cabal guys in general. These buggers carry shotguns like Caleb and will throw dynamite at you. On easier difficulties, it's a single stick of TNT. On well done, it's a whole thick bundle of explosive joy. Fanatics. Oh, these guys, I hate these guys, and you will too. They wear dark grey robes and sport a Tommy gun, which makes the Doom 2 chain gunners look like a joke. These guys are unreasonably accurate, will shoot on sight on well done, and can turn up in unexpected places, making you go all red in the face. You'll want to perfect your crouching game when facing Fanatics, and God help you if you get stuck in a group of them. Ackolytes. Described as a cultist in training, these green-robed boys only throw dynamite despite their sprites holding a gun. I guess the Cabal trusted them enough to throw explosives, but not enough to give them bullets. Tells you all you need to know about the Cabal, I guess. But if you move quickly, Ackolytes are not a big threat. Zealots. Just what you need. Tesla gun-toting cultists. They start off being pretty easy to take out, but then you'll find their placement gets more fiendish as the game progresses, positioned at a distance to spray you with electric bolts. They're also practically immune to Tesla gun damage, so don't waste your zappy trying to fry them. Priests. Found only in the final map of Postmortem, these red-robed chosen in training look fairly harmless, equipped with just a shotgun. But when you kill them, they morph into a beast, which is far from easy to take down. More on them later. These collective Cabal foot soldiers can be taken down in a number of ways, but my preferred methods are single flare for lone targets, flare alt fire for a clustered squad, dynamite bounced around corners, almost always a win. Tommy gun sniping is usually okay, as is the alt fire wild spray of bullets if you get the jump on them, but you'll likely still lose more health than you'd like. A juicy napalm shot into a stack of these guys is a beautiful thing to behold, as is the napalm alt fire. Go on, try it. I dare you. I'd recommend against using Tesla on any Cabal troop, as it's a waste of good ammo. Same with the Voodoo Doll, unless you need to snipe a jerk from atop a cliff, in which case it's very handy. Just remember, crouch, duck for cover, bounce dynamite, and be prepared to be hurt. It's pretty much a guarantee. They only have one eye each, but boy are they accurate. Also, never forget, do not ever let them fall into water. They are so much harder to hit, and the Fanatics especially are an absolute nightmare to deal with. Yikes! Cheogh. Cheogh is the first boss in Blood, found hiding amidst the altar of stone after having murdered Ophelia. This monster is a huge stone gargoyle who'll burst from a wall with some accompanying goons. He'll shoot nasty blue fireballs from his eyes, which will sometimes track you, 2 at a time, and flap around. Interestingly, his eyeballs didn't originally show up as blue due to the grayscale applied to his body, but in things like Fresh Supply, his eyeballs are baby blue once more. He seems to prefer hovering above the ground than circling in the sky, but he can still take a long-ass time to kill due to his huge health pool. But you've got a big fat ace up your sleeve. Crouching. Cheap the bastard out by lying low. He won't be able to hit you with his fireballs, and you can empty all of your ammo into his big grey anus with impunity. If you don't want to be a big wuss, use the arena that's been gifted to you and be prepared to spend a lot of time running around like a madman, often backwards while firing the napalm at Cheogh. Circle around the area, shoot, hide, heal when you can, shoot some more, rinse and repeat. When Caleb blows his head off, you might think it's the last time we've seen of him, but oh no. In following episodes, you'll face mini-boss Cheoghs, the stone gargoyles. For all intents and purposes, they're literally Cheogh, except with even more health. As the game progresses, you'll face multiple stonies at once, but thankfully by then you'll have a much better selection of weapons, namely the voodoo doll and the Tesla cannon, which are extremely powerful against them. Adopt your squatting strat once again and follow the stony with your gaze while repeatedly stabbing the doll or blasting endlessly with Tesla shots. If you've got somewhere to be and can't really hang around, consider using the alt fire for the Tesla. It fires out a highly damaging projectile and will help in no small measure to cut these guys down to size. Even then, they'll still take a while to kill. Tanky. Shial. At the end of the second episode, you'll find yourself up to your elbows in cobwebs as you face the hideous Shial, a big fat spider. Shial has no direct attack, and instead will constantly spew out endless streams of red and green spiders, which will both hinder your ability to kill her by getting in the way, and will bleed you dry via a death from 1,000 cuts, or bites. She seems to have a very low mass, as if you napalm her, she'll bounce off the ceiling and ricochet off walls from the explosion. It still seems to do a good bit of damage and will be your best bet, as napalm, spray can and dynamite are the best weapons you'll have by this point. If you want to get into the thick of it though, the fast repeating action of the Tommy gun is good to both hit her and her babies at the same time. On Well Done, her boss fight has 2 Shials in it, but only one has to be taken down to beat the map, and thank God for that. Shial, like Cheogh, returns in later episodes as a mother spider mini-boss creature that will be a real bitch to deal with, especially if combined with other monsters. By this stage, you'll likely have a Tesla cannon, and that should be your weapon of choice against these jerks. Goddamn spongy 8-legged freaks! Cerberus. Big Fluffy here can be quite a literal son of a bitch, in my opinion. If you're well stocked for Tesla charges though, you should be home and dry, but he still takes a long time to whittle down. His 2 heads shoot napalm rockets, which are insanely powerful, but once you halve his overall health, 1 head droops down, defeated. He then can only shoot 1 napalm hit at a time, but it will be fired with much more aggression. This little bit of boss fight evolution is really cool, and I love how detailed it is. He has an arena that provides some generally reliable cover, but just remember, staying still is probably a bad idea. TNT and Tesla are the best weapons to take him down from a distance. But if you want to go toe-to-toe, hold down the alt fire for the shotgun and don't lift it up until he's dead. Dodge his fireballs as best you can, and you should be good. Except for random appearances in the Flesh on extra crispy difficulty and as a mashup boss fight prior to Tchernobog in Hall of Epiphany, and in the final level of Cryptic Passage where there's 2, you only see Cerberus in his own boss fight, unlike stone gargoyles and mother spiders. My thinking is that combat-wise, there wouldn't be a map situation where it would be appropriate to put another Cerberus. His attacks are so damaging and most maps are so intimate, it just wouldn't work well. Who can say? Explanations are given for the existence of stonies and mother spiders in the manual, but there's no reason given for extra Cerberi. Maybe he has 9 lives. Oh no, that's cats. Tchernobog. Big boss time. The one that binds. The sleeping god. Tchernobog. Mr. Pushover. Honestly, his pre-fight mini-bosses are harder to fight than he is. Old Boggy physically manifests as a huge demonic skeleton, intent on eating your ass with extreme prejudice, so he can absorb all your killing power and get even more powerfuler. He'll hit you with his stink-eye attack that'll set you on fire. He'll shoot big blue napalm balls. He'll dissolve you if you touch him. him. He'll stamp his foot in a deadly, devilish toddler tantrum. Basically, stay away from him, hope for an infight with the Cerberus for the lols, give him plenty of Tesla and napalm, hide from his scorching eyeballs, and things should be resolved in a trice. If you want an example of how to really give Tchernobog a hefty pair of deity danglers, check out what Bloated did in Death Wish. He does a whole Death Eater routine by rocketing around, trashing the hall, and the fight is multi-stage. It's a thing of abject beauty. Check out Civvy11's video on Death Wish. He showcases it so damn well. Now don't get me wrong, Tchernobog looks awesome and can provide some challenge if you're a Blood newbie or somehow have low ammo. But if you're well versed in Blood, and you should be by the time you reach this level, he's relatively chill after the other trials you've faced in the game. Like a lot of FPS final bosses, Spider Mastermind, Korax, he can be embarrassed by a canny player for whom this ain't they's first rodeo. Good stuff. Beasts. As previously mentioned, when you kill a priest, they morph into a beast, which looks like someone took Blanka from Street Fighter and kept him in a root cellar for a year. These beasts are high in health and do a devastating stomp attack that cuts through all armor, freezes the player, and hits you even in the air. Really nasty. They'll also claw you up good at close range, so the tricky bit is finding the right distance to attack them from. They'll get in your face fairly quickly if you're not careful, and if you napalm them, they'll run at you, not get thrown back. My recommendation would be to grab the guns akimbo and hoe into it with the shotgun alt fire. Just hold it down and don't let up. The shotgun kick will keep it at bay, and if your ammo holds out, you should be able to bleed it dry eventually. Another good strat is, once you've morphed the priest, tease it into the looping corridors, keeping your distance, and feed it endless streams of Tesla. It'll be a long fight, but you should win out in the end. But the last thing you want to do ever is to morph more than one priest at a time. That's a bad idea. Originally, the beast was something you were supposed to transform into when a painkillery blood meter was filled from killing bad guys. You'd get all monstrous for a period and could rip and tear until you were done. But it was thought that forced melee wasn't interesting, so it was scrapped. But here's what your hands would have looked like, and what Caleb's transformation would have looked like. I imagine this would have been quite fun during Deathmatch, or Bloodbath, where one or more of the Calebs in the match would phase, and you'd all be like, "Shit, run away!" Nice.
I hate Mimes.
Innocence. I know. What sort of monster would chase these poor souls around with a pitchfork and poke them to death when they're just milling around in a state of abject terror with what's befallen them? But if you haven't, you're lying, and I'm telling on you. You'd probably do well to take these guys out because they can occasionally get in your way and make you explode when you least expect it. Their impotent squeaks of, "Go away!" and "There's no place like home!" both melt my heart with how pathetic they are and are irritating enough to make me pursue them to the end of the earth, rusty farm implement in hand. I kind of wish they were just a tiny bit faster than Caleb, so finally catching up to them was even more rewarding. Mimes. Pathetic insects. Just like the gross mascots in Duke 3D's Babeland, it's so satisfying to pitchfork these stripy jerks so they pop with a tiny little ouch of agony. Special shout out to the secret in Dark Carnival where there's a whole room just packed with them, frightening and irritating at the same time. Son of a bitch wants pain. Grim Reaper Ticket Purser. Tickets, please. I just love these guys. I don't know what it is about these guys. The voice, I guess I imitate it all the time and no one knows what I'm doing. I just love it. And that's the monsters from Blood. God, I hope I didn't miss any. As you can see, there's quite an extensive bestiary to Blood due to the extra monsters put into the plasma pack and stuff. I always love it when expansions add more than just extra levels. Lovely jubbly. Blood is an eternal game for me. At times when I've wavered from Doom or other Doom Engine games, Blood has always had a main place in my game spotlight. It's fast, furious, quirky, funny, gross, scary, ominous. Words fail me. It's incredible, and it stood the test of time oh so very well. If you've played Blood but no community mods, do yourself a favor and check them out. Death Wish is especially good. It takes what's great about Blood and injects so much life into a cadaver certain parties would seemingly wish immobile. Clever, boundary pushing, incredible stuff. Go check it out, along with so many others. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm late for a soccer game. Thanks for watching.